Hello and welcome to Another Home Sold, a show about Wellesley real estate where you hear from the experts on the things you need to know about whether you're buying a new home, maintaining your property, or preparing to sell. I'm your host and realtor, Steven.Verdelli with Coldwell-Banker, Wellesley's #1 real estate company for 24 years in a row. Today, we have Tina Tsaparlis from First Commons Bank in Wellesley, who is the Vice President of Mortgage Services. Tina, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Steve, for having me.
I know it's a very busy time for you, as it is for us right now, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come out here and talk about something that is so important, the mortgage process with real estates.
Of course.
First of all, tell me a little bit about the bank itself.
Sure. Well, First Commons Bank, our first branch was opened on July of 2009. The branch location is right on Beacon Street in Newton Center. Shortly thereafter, Tony Nuzzo, President and CEO, also the primary organizer of the bank and bank chairman, decided to open up a second branch. So that would be on September 2011. And the branch is located here in Wellesley locally.
Right on Linden Street.
Right on Linden Street.
Right across from Roach Brothers.
Right.
Yep.
Right across from the Citgo station next to the Beacon Hill Athletic Club.
Which is a great location. And it's great because
Right.
I love, as you know, I have my mortgage with your bank.
Yes.
And I love running into Tony when I'm at Roach Brothers.
Absolutely.
Which is always a great thing because there's no
Right.
place for the president to hide, which is great. So let's talk a little bit about mortgages in general.
Okay.
Let's talk first of all about first-time home buyers. What is the first thing that people need to think about when they're preparing to get a mortgage?
Oh, the first thing that I would suggest is to actually go and visit your local lender and ask for a pre-approval. Pre-approval process should be something that they go through even before they decide that they're going to be looking for a home. It's
And the
very
difference
important.
between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. Let's talk a little bit about that.
There's quite a difference. Pre-qualification is quite a simple process. And basically, you can get a pre-qualification right online. You can put in your information and it'll come back with what you qualify for. There's no verification required. If you do sit down with a lender and they pre-qualify you, they'll ask you some simple questions regarding your employment, your assets, liabilities. At that point in time, they'll just run some numbers and let you know what you qualify for. Now, the information that the borrower has provided is not verified, so it really doesn't hold much weight.
So when you say it's not qualified, meaning no credit report has been pulled.
Nothing's been pulled.
Nothing's been verified with income.
No documentation.
No W-2 forms have been submitted.
Right.
And that is a pre-approval,
That
pre-approval.
Pre-approval is verified. Pre-approval, think of it as almost basically applying for a mortgage without the collateral. Typically with a pre-approval, the borrower will be asked to complete a loan application and submit it to the lender. Along with that application, the lender will require you to provide some documentation to support what's on that application, such as W-2s, as you mentioned, current pay stubs. If you're self-employed, we'll ask for tax returns. We'll also ask to verify your deposit accounts, savings accounts, what the source of down payment will be. As you mentioned, we will pull a credit report. At that point in time, we'll determine what you qualify for based on your assets, liabilities, and your credit score also comes into play at that point. And it's also a good time to really take a look at your credit, and if there's any type of a repair that needs to be made on your credit report, that's a really good time to do that.
So by having a pre-approval, that's really the only way that a mortgage broker, you could call a mortgage broker and say, I'm interested in purchasing this home. I need a pre-approval letter stating that I'm qualified for X amount of dollars. They're not going to provide this with a pre-qualification.
Absolutely not.
And is there a fee for somebody to come in and see you and get a pre-approval?
Typically, there is no fee.
To get pre-qualified for this, there's no fee for this?
There's no fee, typically.
Okay.
I mean, the only fee that a lender would be able to charge you is for the credit report, but that's not something that I see in the industry.
So there's no fee for somebody to come in and sit down with one of your mortgage brokers and see exactly what they would qualify for a mortgage?
Absolutely not.
Great, great. And that's just something they call and they would make an appointment for?
Right, exactly.
So let's talk about some of the differences that your bank can offer compared to some of the larger banks.
Well, I think the most important thing that we can offer is personal service. When you walk into one of our branches, you'll immediately be greeted by someone, offer you some coffee, some tea. We have some snacks from local bakery. You can sit down and have a chat with anyone at the branch. When you walk into a larger institution, you're not really going to get much of that.
So it's really an education process as well. Sitting down, finding out what mortgage portfolio is going to be best for what my needs are at that time and for whatever type of property that I'm looking for.
Right. And it's important to have a lender that is educated in the process themselves, so they can guide you through the process. I mean, it can be a very intimidating time for especially a new
Sure.
buyer. There's just so much to know, and unless you have someone that's going to guide you through that process, it can be very overwhelming.
It can be very overwhelming.
Yes.
But I think one of the nicest features about a bank of your size is that you're not managed by a larger corporation that is forcing somebody into a certain portfolio because it's dictated from a corporate office in another city.
Right.
That you're really working with the individuals to get what's really best for them to make a lifetime partner and a customer base.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about credit scores and why that's so important.
Well, credit scores are extremely important nowadays. Well, for the most part, the higher your credit score, the better of a product you will receive, and a better rate as well. The terms that you will receive from the lender will be dictated by that credit score for the most part. Anything 740 and above is typically considered an average credit score. Anything below that could affect what you receive for an interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see certain borrowers that, well, this person has a rate of, say 3 3/4, and why do I have a higher rate? It could be that's the reason. There's also other reasons why your interest rate would be higher as well, such as if it was like a 3-family type property,
Mm-hmm.
or a condominium, or the type of terms that you apply for will also determine what your interest rate will be. The credit score is extremely important in the entire process, and it really is important to have that looked at prior to you beginning to look for a home, because if there are any type of things that need to be corrected on that report, that's the best time to do it. That
Those
way
flaws.
you can qualify for more favorable terms with a mortgage once you decide that you're ready to apply.
So maintaining your credit score at above a 740, if you can, sometimes it's below that, and that credit score is based upon what? Paying bills on time.
Paying bills on time, making sure you don't have any recent delinquencies, current delinquencies. If you do have a mortgage, that's very important. That will really have a big impact on your credit score. Other things that would affect your credit score would be things such as capacity. If you have, say for instance, 10 credit cards, you've maxed them all out. Well, there's no capacity there. That will definitely be reflected in your credit score. Other things that are small, like inquiries, if you have too many inquiries, but those really don't have such an impact as, of course, the delinquencies that I mentioned.
Keep your credit cards paid on time.
Yeah.
Don't have more than 3, and just pay your bills.
Right.
Keep it simple, right?
And actually, there are times where your credit score could be lower, where you've actually have perfect credit, and the reason for that is that you really don't have much credit. If you have older trade lines, make sure you keep those open.
Yep.
Those are very important to have. If you're new, like say for instance you're just out of college, you don't have much credit, your credit score may not be at 740, and it's not because you're not paying your bills on time, it's because you don't have any credit.
Yep.
So that's another reason why
You want to build that credit up.
want to build that up.
So let's say that now we've applied, we have a 760, 800 credit score. And
That's great.
Great. And
Perfect.
And the mortgage is approved. What's the turnaround time to get this money? When can I close on my house?
Well,
What's the process at your bank? That's what I guess I should be asking.
we have a very quick turnaround time. We have an underwriter that's right in the branch. We don't have to send our loans out to be underwritten some other state, which a lot of the larger banks do.
So your underwriter
So
is right there in the Wellesley branch.
Right there in the Wellesley branch.
So the underwriter is
So-
actually the person that takes the finances, looks at it, and comes to the terms of yes, they can approve or no, they cannot approve.
Absolutely.
Which is in the Wellesley office.
In the Wellesley
Which
office.
is very unusual. That's a huge advantage.
That's huge.
That's huge.
It is. Yeah, we're very proud that we can turn if you have a contingency date that we have to meet, even 10 days out, we can do that. It's not an issue.
That is very unusual. I was
Yeah.
not aware of that. What that means is that somebody that's actually in the bank, which essentially approves the mortgage, is right there on site. It's usually an
On-site.
off-site location, an off-site facility someplace in another state.
Right.
And that can really be a hinge upon your
can
mortgage
really-
contingency date upon your offer, which
Right.
is great. Because if
Right.
that date comes and goes, you've lost that house.
Right.
Which is fantastic. So you guys can turn these around real quickly.
Real quickly. Really
Wonderful.
quickly.
Now let's talk a little bit about the difference between a 15-year and a 30-year mortgage.
Sure. The 15-year obviously is amortized over 15 years, and the 30 is amortized over 30 years. The 30-year is the most common product that someone would apply for, and the reason for that is obviously your monthly payment will be a lot smaller than it would be on a 15-year. And some new borrowers don't qualify for the 30-year product,
Sure.
for the 15-year product. It would mean qualification as well. So 30-year products, there are so many products out there now. It can get very overwhelming for certain borrowers, especially if they're new and haven't been through the process before. That's why it's really important to really team up with a lender that is there for you and that will guide you through the process. The products are anywhere from I don't know if you jumbo products, conforming loan limits, conventional products. There's adjustable rate products aside from the fixed products. There's first-time home buyer products. The key is to put that borrower into a product that fits their needs. So every product is
So
not.
really, it's almost like a grocery store.
There's a
This
lot.
is what I need. These are my recipes. Can you help me get it all together?
That's what you need the lender for.
That's what we need a
Absolutely.
lender for, to find out what the best product is, and that's what
Right.
you guys are going to do for us.
Exactly.
Are they still doing, just out of curiosity, interest-only loans? Do those still exist?
Not really.
Not really
nobody-
anymore.
No one's really doing. The only interest only would be a HELOC product.
Okay.
A HELOC product is more like a credit line that is
Yep.
given. It's interest only for the first 10 years, but then it is amortized over the remainder of the 10. So it's a 20-year amortization
Okay.
for a HELOC. But other than that, no.
So for somebody who's never had a mortgage before, right out of school, or somebody who's just been renting a majority of their life, that's been traveling around the country, let's talk about first-time home buyers. That's a
Sure.
big portion. That's a
That
lot of our
is-
viewers too. What do we have for
There's-
them?
Well, we have some really great products for them. We have as little as 3% down. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac both have products that are 3% down.
Wow.
However, there's one product that's even better than that I'd like to mention. It's the Mass Housing product. Mass Housing has 3 different types of products. There's Mass Housing 3% down product, there's a Mass Housing lender paid MI product, and there's a Mass Housing no MI product, which is incredible.
No, MI is
Mortgage insurance,
mortgage
private
insur-
mortgage
No, what is
insurance.
that, mortgage insurance?
That is typically required if you put less than 20% down. There's it's a premium that you'll pay monthly along with your principal and interest payment, and that is basically to protect the bank from any losses. So
Okay, so it's an insurance product that typically the consumer would be paying.
the consumer pays for it,
Okay.
but it's to protect the lender.
Okay,
Only
sure.
because they're
From a
putting down
defaulted
less
loan.
than a. But then again, it's also advantageous to the borrower because they can now purchase a home they typically wouldn't be able to because they're allowed to put less than 20% down.
Okay.
So it is, it can go both ways.
Great, great. Now, these first-time homebuyer programs, this mass lending, mass housing that you're talking about, not all banks have this type of program, correct?
That is correct. Typically, you need to be approved by Mass Housing to offer that type of product, or you can actually go through what they call a correspondent lender or a wholesale. So you can wholesale the product through another lender that is approved through Mass Housing. And Mass Housing obviously is only for the state of Massachusetts.
And those are owner-occupied properties.
They are.
Okay.
They are.
And not every bank offers this
Not
mass
every
housing
bank.
program.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So a little bit about these first-time homebuyers Freddie Mac programs, first-time homebuyer program was as little as 3% down. What are the income guidelines on something like that?
Actually, there are certain income restrictions. They're typically the median income. You cannot exceed, typically on a mass housing, it runs about $122,000 per household.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you meet that criteria, you're eligible for that product.
Okay.
As far as income restrictions go.
And does First Commons Bank offer any type of programs for first-time home buyers, educational programs?
Sure. Well, first of all, you do have to attend a home ownership educational program for all these first-time homebuyer products. So that is actually mandatory. So if a new borrower who's a first-time homebuyer, if they do apply for this particular product, then we do ask them to attend one of the classes. They will obtain a certificate, the home ownership certificate, and that certificate is actually good for a year. So you can actually go and attend one of these courses before you even begin the process, and you can have that in hand. That way you don't hold up the mortgage process when you're told that you actually have to go and attend one of these classes.
So someone can come in, attend the class, get the certificate, meet with one of your lenders for free, find out exactly what they qualify for, go out, purchase the home from me, go back to you folks, say that we need this loan approved in a week or so, have an on-site underwriter that can approve the loan right then and there out of the Wellesley office, get the money, we could close the loan in 30 days.
Absolutely, we can do that.
That is fantastic. Tina, thanks so much for coming on the show today. This has been very educational. I also want to thank Tony Nuzzo for bringing First Commons Bank to Wellesley. This has been a great experience.
Thank you, Steve.
And you guys are located
at
161 Linden Street, right across from Roach Brothers, in that plenty of parking, right next to Massage Envy.
Yes.
And
yep.
New England Athletic Club? No, it's
the
first
Beacon
Hill Athletic Club.
Club.
Great.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on
thank
today.
you for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Next, we're going to go to 42 Seaward Road in Wellesley with Gail Horan. Gail, thanks so much for bringing this wonderful historical house from Wellesley on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on the show, Steve.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Needham, and after college and getting married, I moved down to Cape Cod, brought up my family there, and after my children after they graduated from college and settled back up in the Boston area, I decided that I needed to be back up here, so I moved back to Needham, and I'm very happy that I did that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you for bringing this wonderful home on 42 Seaward Road in Wellesley, and the historical significance to this house is really incredible.
It is amazing, isn't it?
Built in 1886,
Right.
5 years after the town of Wellesley was founded. Mm-hmm. And this is great. And this home has had 3 owners.
Only 3 owners in its 125 to 130 year history.
And the first being Frank M. Colburn.
Right.
This gentleman right here.
Isn't he great with the bowler hat and the mustache? I love it.
He is
I
great.
love it.
First original owner of 42 Seaward Road.
And the property was built, the architect who built the property was Dr. Warren Rodman, who was a prominent Boston architect, and then he became a physician and resided in Wellesley for probably 30 years, and he was actually a selectman for a couple of years. But he built a number of the properties in the country club area. He built the first Honeywell Hall, the first Honeywell School, which sits on the location of the Gap on Central Street, right across from our office, and that building was torn down in 1940.
Wow, probably one of the members of the Wellesley Club as well, I'd bet.
Probably.
That's wonderful.
Now, this first picture is obviously the photo of the outside of the house, and in the back you can see the carriage house, which has 2 very large bays and a loft area upstairs. The carriage house has heat, hot water, and electricity. The driveway is probably 40 feet long, and it curves around to the back of the house. It's made of Boston pavers, and the patio in the back is a beautiful circular design on 2 levels, all made of the Boston pavers. It's about a half an acre of land and about 3,000 square feet of the interior of the house. The interior is just filled with this wonderful oak trim, oak floors everywhere, all the trim. There's wainscoting in several of the rooms, and here is the turned staircase in the foyer. The dining room, as you can see, the whole house is very, very bright. The dining room has 3 large windows. They're oversized windows in most of the rooms. And here in the dining room and in the living room and in the study, we have these wonderful pocket doors. The owners actually removed the pocket doors and had all the mechanics of the sliding mechanics replaced so that they work beautifully. Here's a shot of the living room, also showing the pocket doors and the beautiful wood trim. The kitchen is 30 feet long, and it's definitely an eat-in kitchen. It has 3 or 4 very large windows in addition to the beautiful bay window you see at the back of the room. Here's another shot of the carriage house. Gives you a little bit better idea of the size of it. And to the side of it, you can see the beginning of some of the rock walls that have been built by this current owner. Here's a shot of the end of the driveway actually moving into the patio area. Lots of seating room, lots of room for plants. Now this staircase leads up to one of the tiered levels on the property. This side yard was actually leveled and grassed over so that it makes a great play area for the children. Another shot of the patio with a wonderful lighted umbrella so that you can sit out there in the evening and enjoy these beautiful grounds. Now here's a shot of the open end of the porch, and I have to tell you that all of this porch was rebuilt by the current owners. They left this end of it open, and the next shot is of the screened-in area so that you can sit out there any time of day or night. Now this home has only been owned by 3 families. The first family lived there, the Colburns, for probably 50 to 55 years. The second family actually brought up 6 children in this house, and they were there a good 35 years or so. My current owners have been there almost 30 years, so we're just looking for the next buyers to move in and make happy family memories.
Gail, thanks so much for bringing this wonderful, historical, significant property to the show today.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Gail Horan, Coldwell-Banker, 42 Seaward Road in Wellesley. Gail can be reached at 781-258-9199. Any restrictions to seeing this property?
The only restriction is that we request appointments to be after 2 p.m.
After 2 p.m. Wonderful. This is great. 42 Seaward Road. Thanks so much for bringing it on today.
You're very welcome.
I hope you've enjoyed watching today's episode of Another Home Sold. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you're thinking about listing your home or just want an up-to-date market analysis, please call me, 617-922-4714. I'm Steven.Verdelli with Coldwell-Banker Residential Brokerage in Wellesley. Thanks for watching. See you next week. And remember, home is the nicest word there is.